podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC on a Thursday, on which it does look like Georgi Mamardashvili is edging towards completion. There seems to be a little bit of a hold-up on the payment structure. Valencia pushing for the whole lot to be paid in one go. Liverpool obviously preferring to pay in instalments. That does point to Valencia being a little bit desperate for money. So I do wonder if maybe there's something else we could come to terms with them on. They do have a couple of very interesting players that I'd like us to have interest in. Christian Mosquera, the centre-back, is one. Now, he's not great in the air, but he's very young and that can be developed. He's a little bit smaller than what we'd normally look at. But, you know, we have been linked with Guehi. He's the same height as Guehi, and I think he's got the potential to be quite good in the air. And then Javi Guerra, the midfielder, could make an awful lot of sense for us as a six. He's good on the ball. He's strong defensively. He's very young. He is more of a box-to-box player at the moment, but he's easily moldable into a six. Would give you the physical presence that a lot of people seem to want, while also being able to develop on the ball into the type of playmaker that Arne Slot wants in that role. So maybe there's something else we can come to terms with them on as talks continue. It's funny, I keep seeing people having meltdowns about all these players leaving and going on about how we're going to play more games next season and the squad's getting smaller. Well, we aren't necessarily going to play more games next season. We do have the option of binning off the cups in the early rounds and not putting a strain on the squad from the League Cup and the FA Cup. That's one way of reducing the number of games. And if you look back to the 18-19 and 19-20 seasons, when we won major honours under Jurgen, we binned off the cups quite early. So it is possible to do that again, and that would reduce the game load by like 11 from last season? So that could be pretty good. But it's also important to look at the players that have left and how much they actually played last season. So Thiago is gone. He played for 15 minutes last season. So not really sure we need to be too concerned about that. Joel Matip played 14 games in all competitions. João Quansah is capable of playing more than he did last year. Ibu is capable of playing more than he did last year. Remember, Ibu sat on the bench and didn't play in a bunch of games last season. So those minutes can be made up. If Joe Gomez stays, he can also play more minutes at centre-back. Remember, Trent will play more than last year because he missed a chunk injured. Alisson will play more because he missed a chunk injured. If Robbo sticks around and is the first choice, he'll likely play more because he missed a chunk injured. So there's not necessarily a huge amount of need to replace Joel Matip as things currently stand. Now, if Joe goes, he would need to be replaced. It does look like Sepp Vandenberg is leaving, seemingly set to go to Brentford for 25 million with 5 million in add-ons, which must be a dreadful blow to the fools that said we'd be lucky to get 12 to 15 million for him and that he wasn't good enough. Very clearly good enough, but he wants to play, and we can't offer him enough minutes. Bayer Leverkusen, the other side, who had strong interest in him, they're a pretty good team, did quite well last season, I believe. So odd that the champions of the Bundesliga would be interested in a player if he's not good enough for a team that finished third in England. It's just that we don't have the minutes to offer him, and he wants to play regularly at this point in his career. But Sepp leaving, I believe 4 million of that fee would go to Zwolle in the Netherlands, which means we get 21 million plus the add-ons. There might be a chunk of those add-ons to go to them as well. But that's a huge profit on what we paid for Sepp. And given we bought Sepp 5 years ago, his fee is well gone off our books. So it's all profit on that one right now. Adrian has gone. Adrian played 0 games last year, won the year before, and won the year before that. And the game he played in 22-23 was the Community Shield. He's played 1 meaningful game in 3 years, so we won't worry too much about him. Jaros is a considerably better goalkeeper than him. Musilowski, I think he played 1 game for us ever. Yeah, 1 game for us ever. He came on as a sub in a meaningless European game when we'd already qualified out of the group. We'll not worry too much about his departure. Melkamu Fraundorf, he's gone too. Played 2 games for us ever. 1 in the FA Cup in 21-22, 1 in the League Cup in 22-23. I believe that was 0 starts. Adam Lewis is gone. Played 1 game for us ever. Played in the Cup in 1920. Will not worry too much. Anderson Arroyo is gone. Signed in 2018. Spent his entire time at the club out on loan. Never kicked the ball for us. Billy Cometio, once hailed as the next Virgil. He played 2 games for us and none in the last 2 seasons. 1 in the League Cup and 1 in Europe. Will not worry. Fabio Carvalho didn't kick a ball for us last year, so we're not losing anything. Bobby Clark, he's the only one that played any kind of meaningful part last season with 12 appearances. Most of them as a sub. Not a huge ton of minutes for somebody else to pick up. With Dominic hopefully being kept on the pitch this year and not run into the ground causing injuries, he should just be able to eat up those minutes no problem. Dominic missed a good few games last season, so no issue there. So none of the players that have left played any kind of real part for us last year, other than Bobby Clark. Now, there are others being linked with moves away, of course. So Sepp is the first one, and he didn't play for us at all last year. In fact, he's played 4 games for us in total, and they all came in the 1920 season. So again, we won't worry about it too much. There's rumours that Kostas could head back to Olympiacos. Now, he has played, and last season played 25 times. So he would need replaced. Kostas would be the first player leaving who'd really need replacing externally. But we already knew we needed a player in that position. Ideally, we bring in someone to start in that position and Robbo becomes the backup. And ideally, the person that comes in to start in that position is also capable of playing some games at centre-back for us to make up any shortfall that we might have. Now, if Joe goes and Kostas goes, we'd need to bring in 2. We'd need someone to play left back and we'd need more of a traditional type centre-back. Even if they're a younger player to be developed, that would be fine. If they were in that 19, 20, 21 range, that could be okay, depending on who they are. Someone like a Mosquera in that situation would work. Who else has been linked with moves away? Oh, we've loaned a few players out, haven't we? Yeah, we've loaned out Reece Williams. He hasn't played in years. Lucas Stevenson, he's never played in the first team, has he? He played once last season? Nah. No, he was on loan last season at Barrow, is right. Lewis Kumas is gone on loan. Lewis Kumas played once last season. Now, he did score, fair play to him, but he played once. We'll not worry too much. Luke Chambers, he played 4 times. Once in the League Cup, 3 times in Europe, in games against Ross. It's not something we need to worry about replacing. Mrozic hasn't played for us, and Calvin Ramsey spent all of last season out on loan and or injured. So again, not anything to worry about there. We haven't lost anybody as yet, other than Bobby Clark, who played any kind of role for us last year. And again, to go back to the ones that might leave, Stefan Bajcetic could go. He missed almost the entirety of last season. He played 3 times. He played 3 times. I think he played a total 100 minutes or something for us last year. Again, it's not something we really need to be worried about replacing this year. What he needs games to rebuild his body. And he's not going to get them with us. He needs games to develop, to become a player of the caliber that's good enough to play for us. Right now, he's not there. So he needs games, and we can't give them to him. So loaning him out makes all the sense in the world. Tyler Morton could leave. Tyler Morton hasn't played a game for us in 2 years. So what are we losing? James McConnell could go on loan. James McConnell played 9 times last season, mostly as a sub. Solid player, but not someone that you need to be concerned about losing. Trainiani could take those 9 appearances this season. And then in the attack, Cade Gordon could go. Played 3 times last year. 1 start, I think. Not something to be concerned with. Ben Doak could go. On loan or potentially on a permanent. Played 5 times last year. Made 1 league appearance. A minuscule amount of numbers. Missed, obviously, half the season with an injury. Harvey Blair is going. He's off to Portsmouth. Harvey Blair's played once for us in the 21-22 season.
Driving plays a big part in driving the local economy. It helps us all get where we're going and creates good jobs close to home. At Synovus Energy, our refineries in Toledo and Lima are a reliable domestic source of gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel. Plus, more than 2,300 employees and contractors work for us here in Ohio. See how we're helping local communities move forward at Synovus.com.
L is
Yup,
for the way
that's who you think it is. The Grimace Mug. The Hello Kitty keychain. Barbie herself. For a limited time, your favorite McDonald's collectibles filled with memories and magic are now on collectible cups. Get 1 of 6 when you order a collector's meal at McDonald's with your choice of a Big Mac or 10-piece McNuggets. Come get your cup while you still can. At participating McDonald's for a limited time while supplies last.
And then Jayden Danns could go on loan. And Jayden Danns played a total of 5 games last season. Really talented player, definitely has a big future, but again, one who needs games to develop. Him, Cade, and Bajcetic are the ones you'd look at and say, you know what, in 2 years, they could be first team ready. There's a very clear path for them to become first team squad players and be contributors. But right now, none of them are there. So it doesn't make sense to have them knocking around the club playing under 21 football. They're too good for 21 football. They're good enough for men's football. They're just not good enough to play for us at the moment. Not if we want to be serious about competing. Now, part of that obviously is we need to go and sign players. If we are serious about competing for the Champions League and the Premier League, we do need to go and sign players. And nobody's saying we don't. But all of these players leaving there's nobody really that you should be having a meltdown of. I understand people are a bit upset about Bobby Clark, and I think he's a really talented footballer. But he's years away. Years away. So hopefully he goes and does really well with Red Bull Salzburg. He'll work there under Vitor Matas, who's the assistant coach, who he had a really good relationship with at Liverpool. He'd obviously work under Pep and Linders, who's the head coach. He had a good relationship with him at Anfield. And then you've got, I think Kornmeyer's there, isn't he? Kornmeyer, whatever his name is Kornmeyer. He's there as well as the, whatever his title is at Salzburg. So he knows him too. But like Bobby Clark wasn't going to play for us this year. And Arne doesn't want players in and around the squad that aren't playing. He'd rather move them on. Would you prefer we keep them all and do what Chelsea's done? Where you've got a manager coming out and saying, oh, I only work with a group of about 21 players. The other 20, I don't see them. They train separately. Like, that's really weird. That's not normal behaviour. Is that what people would want for us? If Arne was to say, I'm only going to work with 21, 22, 23 players, all these other players would just be shunted to one side. Is that what people want? Because that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help them. It's not good for the development. Like, ultimately, this club has made significant mistakes in recent years with not selling players at the right time, with hanging on to them far too long. Divock, Nat Phillips. Players like that should have been sold early. Instead, we got nothing for Divock, and Nat is still at the club. We had money on the table for them and turned it down.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
And how did it help their careers? Divock is about to be released on a free by AC Milan, having been booted off on loan to Nottingham Forest last season for half the year. We've no offers on the table for Nat Phillips. 27. He's older than Joe Gomez. And even with all the injuries Joe has had, he still played nearly 3 times as many games as Nat Phillips has in his career. These are mistakes that we made. Those are players whose development was hurt by keeping them at the club when they weren't good enough, but would be used when they were needed, when we were desperate for them. And that's just not how they want to operate anymore. Like, we always talk about, why is the wage bill so high? And there's definitely questions as to why it is so high. Obviously, we clearly pay a lot in bonuses and stuff. But it's also because we keep a bunch of players around that just aren't needed, aren't necessary. Like, Adrian wasn't going to play last year in a fit. Even if Kelleher got injured, Harvey Davies probably would have played ahead of him. And yet he was at the club earning, 50, 60 grand a week? To be a glorified training goalkeeper? Something you normally pay some 19, 20-year-old lad 2 grand a week to do? That's part of why the wage bill was so high. And part of the duties of Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes is bringing that spend on wages down because it's unnecessary. There's nobody who's gone and only a couple who might leave who really need to be replaced. Costas and Joe. That's it. And we needed that left back in anyway. So Costas is just collateral damage on that. And we need a number 6. We had the same needs before the summer as we have now. The exact same needs before the summer as we have now. Nothing we've done has changed what's needed. It hasn't added anything to it. You can argue that we could use a backup winger. Sure. A backup right winger would be helpful. But how much are they really going to play? Mo's going to play 50 games. What's the Champions League going to have? 15, 16 to win it? To get to the final and play the final? Plus the Premier League is 38, so you're looking at 53, 54 games. There's only going to be 3 or 4 where Mo doesn't play, and he might play in them. Like, he genuinely might play in them. But he shouldn't be playing in the cups. But again, we can and should be bidding them off early and focusing on the main competitions. It's a good way to keep your players fit as well as to bid off those cups. How much of the injury toll last year on players like Dominic and Mo, who are playing in the early rounds of the League Cup, how much did that contribute? We still need 2 players. We need a left back and a holding midfielder. That hasn't changed. That's not going to change until they're addressed. Anything else would really just be a bonus. Mamardashvili is a bonus signing this summer. Goalkeeper is not a position we needed to fill this summer. But it's an opportunistic signing to future-proof one of the most important positions in the team. And it doesn't necessarily mean that Alisson leaves in 12 months or 24 months. It doesn't. It might well be that he said to them, I'm not going to extend past this contract, so I'll give you a year or 2 more, and then you can either sell me or I'll just play out my final year, my 3rd year, I'll just play that out and then I'll leave on a fruit. Or he might re-up. And we might just turn around in 2 years after 2 good loans and sell Mamardashvili for a significant profit. Because that's a possibility for us as well. Mamardashvili is a really clever signing. Really, really clever signing. He is the best possible successor for Alisson. And for people that are getting upset about Caoimhín Kelleher, he's just clearly not of the level. Of the level required to win the title and win the Champions League, he's not there. And he's not going to get there. Because if he was, where are the offers for him? Like, he's clearly available. We've set a price on him. He's clearly available. And there's no offers for him. 2 years ago, he was available. And there was no offers for him. Not offers that came close to what we were looking for. And it's not like we're looking for an extortionate fee. 25 million for a goalkeeper who is homegrown, at international, has proven himself in the Premier League, 15 league games. Now, he doesn't have a huge amount of games behind him, only 47 career games, which is very low for a player who's 25, will turn 26 in a couple of months. But he's clearly a good goalkeeper. Like, he's clearly good enough for the Premier League. But yet, there's no offers. You've got Southampton currently trying to sign Bijlow from PSV. PSV? Feyenoord? PSV, I think. Either way. He's injury prone. and yet they'd rather go for him. You've got Arsenal, or Wolves rather, desperate for a goalkeeper. Looking at Ramsdale on a loan with an obligation to buy. You've got Forest who need a goalkeeper. Bournemouth need a goalkeeper. And yet they're not coming in for Queeving. And again, I don't think the price is extortionate on him. I don't think that's what it is. They're not even coming in and trying to negotiate with us. But if he was as good as people try and make him out to be, if he was this surefire successor to Alisson, surely teams would be snapping him up at that money. If he's going to be good enough in a couple of years to be the starting goalkeeper for one of the best teams in the world, teams would snap him up. Even if they knew that, well, we're not that level, but we'll get him in for a year or two, and then we'll turn around and sell him at a big profit. It's not happening. I understand people are really frustrated with the summer. I don't understand the sheer volume of tears, though. The sheer volume of pants sweat. Calm yourselves down. Relax. Still time. They're working on stuff. They're trying to get things done. There's just quite a lot to do. And if they don't sign anybody other than Mamardashvili, then on the 31st of August, when the window is closed, then feel free to have a tantrum. Grand. But the thing is, the people that will have those tantrums, criticism is one thing, right? Criticism is fine. If you want to say, oh, they're leaving it late, it's a little bit lax, you're being too fussy, stuff like that, that's fine. But the tantrums and the tears and the pant wetting, this has been going on since June. So the people that will have those full-scale tantrums and demand the owners go and slate Hughes and slate Edwards and all the rest, they've been building up to this since June. They've been looking forward to that. They would rather that and have that opportunity to slate the owners and slate Edwards and Hughes than they would if we actually sign players. It's a very weird mindset. But there's a bunch of them that if we turn around in the next week, get Mamardashvili done, and let's say we sign Hincapié and let's just say Javi Guerra from Valencia, right? Let's just say we bring him in. If we did that and addressed the needs in the squad and obviously added this super talented goalkeeper for the long haul, they'd just find something else to moan about. And it's a funny thing because there was a point where if we'd just gone and spent money badly on something we didn't need, let's just say we signed Ademola Lookman, who's been linked in some really crappy Italian press. Let's say we went and spent the 70 million euro that Atalanta allegedly want for him, which, by the way, is an absolutely absurd overpay. I really like Lookman. He's a very talented player. But that would be absolutely mental to do. He is 27 in October, right? And if we look at his career statistics, he's had 2 good years with Atalanta. Before that, it's all very hit and miss. It might well be that he's just a player really well suited to Serie A, but we don't need him anyway. But if we went and spent that money and didn't address the issues in our team, they'd probably be delighted about it. Because it'd be showing some sort of weird ambition. It'd be the same thing if we signed Anthony Gordon. Doesn't address the need, doesn't improve us, would be massively overpriced, has had one decent season in his career, and it's decent, not great. And yet, they'd celebrate. That'd be one half of these people that are preparing to piss their pants on August 31st. The other half will be actually upset if we sign players. Because their whole identity is wrapped up in this FSG out thing. there's nothing that'll actually make them happy. Like us winning the league and Champions League a few years ago was inconvenient to them. Yet they still found ways to spin it round and have a pop at the owner and say that nothing to do with them. Nothing to do with them. Forget the fact that they hired the manager, that they hired the sporting director who, in conjunction with that manager, built that team. Forget the fact that they were the ones that did all of that signed off on all of those transfers. Nothing to do with them, apparently. No, we won in spite of them, was the line. In spite of them. They can't do anything that will make these people happy. And as I've said loads of times, there are plenty of things to hit the owners over. Plenty of examples of missteps, of poor decisions, of financial decisions that hampered us on the pitch. The money for the main stand, the money for the training ground, the money for the Anfield Road. The fact that the club has to pay for them themselves, and that comes out of what could be put toward building the team up, that's a legitimate reason to complain. Because ultimately, the people who benefit most from that infrastructure upgrade is the owners, because it raises the valuation of the club, which helps them in two ways. If they wanted to borrow money against the club, they've got a more valuable asset. Or if they want to sell the club, they've got a more valuable asset. Ultimately, well, yeah, it's great that more fans get to go, 100% it is. It's great that we have a better training centre, 100% it is. Ultimately, the people that benefit most from that is the owners, and it costs them nothing. And that's something to hit them over. The ticket increases a few years ago with, was it 76 quid? That type of stuff. The decision to furlough staff. Absolutely. Hammer them on that. So if you work for a company or make decisions at a company or own a company who also furlough staff, sit down and shut your mouths. You don't get to speak on that because you did the same thing. And no amount of calling yourself an institution will change that. Those are the type of things that's absolutely fair to hammer the owners over. Other things would be allowing the structure of the club to disintegrate, allowing someone to take too much power and force someone else out of the club. Stuff like that is worth hitting the owners on heavily. Not being attentive enough to what was actually taking place at the club.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.